Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages which some listeners may find disturbing. Especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past. Hail, Franco Musso here. Big announcement. I'm finally releasing my online Power Pages course.
Okay, we know. We've heard this. Franco, I'm sitting in front of you now. Why would I sign up for this Power Pages course?
Do you want to learn all those battle-tested lessons yourself? Do you want to do everything the hard way? Or do you want your first Power Pages project to be the resounding success it can be? I'm offering the proven path, the best of my lessons learned, design patterns. I know what sucks, I know what rocks, what's helped me so much in the past. Those project-based, actionable, results-driven courses.
I'm not going to bullshit you. When I look at courses, I've looked at Franco's. I've gone through some of the lessons. It's awesome. Franco's a terrific teacher. He's literally giving me templates and code I can use and just put into my Power Pages sites. By the way, I'm Sean Osh. I run the Architects Accelerator. It is an 8-week training that gets people prepared to be a solutions architect. My goal for making it was simple. I want developers able to build these powerful, flexible solutions with minimal effort. We're accepting participants right now, so go ahead to untethered365.com. The link is in the show notes if you want to sign up.
You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. My name is Mike Gowland and I'm here with my co-partner rat in crime, John Russell. Say hello, John.
Bonjour mon ami, ça va?
And how are you doing, John? It is hot, isn't it?
Ça va bien, mais j'ai très chaud.
What?
I said, I'm well, thank you, but I'm very hot.
Yeah, it is too hot, so
yeah, it's warm.
Apologies for the audio quality, but we have a fan gathering. You can literally hear them.
Yeah, I'm like in the Crystal Maze.
Oh yeah, I remember that, yeah. John, today we have a special guest, Heather Perriam. Is it Perriam?
Perriam.
Perriam. Heather Perriam joining us. We won't cut that. Heather is a Power Platform Solution Architect at Trustmark. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Has an inspiring story of changing careers in countries in their 40s, navigating the tech industry as a woman, and embracing the unique qualities of a late-diagnosed ADHD. With a rich background in various roles in industry, Heather brings a wealth of experience and insights. We're thrilled to have her here to share her journey and experiences with us. Welcome to the podcast, Heather. How are you doing today?
I'm doing super fantastic. How are you guys doing? And hot.
Good.
And hot.
It's hot, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to be getting a bleep machine out on this one, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is hot though. Yeah, this is the UK summer, so it's going to last until Friday, and then it's going to be back same time next year.
Yeah. You know, I used to live in Las Vegas, and so I thought I understood hot, right? And miserable, and it's terrible, and I don't recommend it to anybody. But then I moved here and experienced the heat in the summer where, like, I need to understand why we don't believe in air conditioning in this country. I don't.
You know what it is? Every house in the UK is designed to trap as much heat as possible.
Yeah.
That's genuinely what it is. So houses in hotter climates, they're designed to let air come through.
Yeah.
We don't like air.
We
need to cover our houses with wool.
The soles of my feet are actually on fire at the moment.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Take them off the hot coals, John.
I'm picking up my wife Katie later on, and she works at a nursery, and she's going to be struggling. It's going to be bad because there's no aircon there, none. So Heather, welcome to the podcast. I know we've been chatting quite a lot. I know you're a fan of my artwork, some of which is now in the National Portrait Gallery.
Absolutely.
What artwork are we talking about, John?
I'm lying. There's none in the.
Is it that thing you sent me the other day that was supposed to be between us?
I think it was. I told you not to talk about that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh man, it's lucky when I was handing around the iPad the other day that people didn't really go into the photos.
I was kind of wondering.
It got to me and it all stopped working.
Yeah, in the hands of the gods, and it goes. Yeah. So Heather, you are here, so we better speak to Heather, right?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Are you good? You all right?
Yeah. I'm just trying to navigate. So I've got actually two different fans in this room pointed in different directions, and I'm trying to find that perfect,
Sweet spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's miserable.
I found the sweet spot usually is about a foot too far away from your keyboard, though. That's a problem. Unless you're using Neuralink.
Well, I was told when I first moved here, and it was like, I don't know, I want to initiate conversations, but sometimes I'm not sure what to do or what's appropriate, and I get nervous that I'd say something like too American and make somebody in South Devon just, bug out. And so the advice I got is if I don't know what to say, I either moan about the traffic or moan about the weather. So
Amazing.
now when it's like this, I'm like, that's fantastic. I can talk to 1,000 new people in this country because it's miserable and we all agree.
Just make a queue, you'll be fine.
So Heather, do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you got to where you are today then? The role that you're in and how you got here?
Yeah. So obviously we talked about I'm in my 40s. I can't believe I publicly acknowledged that. I don't know that I would have done that previously, but
So
here we are.
I'll start admitting I'm in my 40s when I get to 40.
So here we are. So that means that my journey's been long, right? And so basically, I grew up. We didn't have a ton of money, and I was in the U.S., and so my opportunities were really super limited. And I had all of these signs of ADHD, which I can see now, but I didn't know when I was a kid. I was just like, for some reason, everybody thinks I'm super weird and annoying, and I couldn't figure it out, But obviously some people liked me because I had a baby when I was a teenager, and that just changes your whole life, right? Because now all of this ambition I had, suddenly I'm like, I can't do any of these things. I can't be that story of the girl who rose from the really poor area up and was super successful because I have to make money to support this baby. And so, so I didn't go to university or whatever. I just worked really, really, really super hard. But I loved tech. And I realized that there's so many people who don't know how to do things, right? And my very first ever paying tech gig, here's a fun fact for you guys. A neighbor paid me $25 to help him set up an AOL account because he wanted to be able to chat in chat rooms. And I remember leaving. What'd you say?
Have you got his number?
No, I wish I did because we could probably... And it was funny because I remember getting home and I was like, I can't believe this guy just paid me $25 for something that took me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
When at the time it would have taken me 5 hours to earn that much money, right? At my job. Yeah. So then I was saved up. I got a computer, and back then you bought a box system and it came with all of this software, right? And so there was this program called Microsoft Front Page.
Yeah.
We all know and love, right?
I'm a veteran of Front Page.
Front Page. Front Page is the secret to my success because I was like, oh my gosh, I call it my first low-code tool, right? And I'm building this stuff out. And then I found this button and I pushed this button. And when I pushed it, it showed me the code behind what I did. And I was like, what? And then I started manipulating things. Well, what if I change this and what if I change that? And pretty soon Heather taught herself HTML, CSS, right? And I'm building websites for people. They were terrible. I hope none of them are around today, but because I didn't really understand design, but people seemed to like it, so that was good. But then I was like, okay, so if this guy will pay me $25 to set up an AOL account, and then I can use this preloaded Microsoft software to learn how to build a website, right? And learn this language. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. Maybe I shouldn't be working retail anymore. So I went to this job fair at the third largest telecom provider in the U.S. And I wanted this technical position. And they're like, we have QA and sales positions. Right, no, but I want the technical position. And they were looking at me like, I don't know who you are, but we'll try it. And I interviewed with this guy, and the first thing he says to me is, he's like, you don't have any tech experience. Why are we going to, why would we want to talk to you? And I was like, no, I do have tech experience. It's just not formal, but I know lots of stuff. And I'll never forget, I said that exactly to him. I was like, I know lots of stuff. And then I was like, and I'm really smart. So if I don't know it, I'll learn it, and I don't know. Anyway, he asked me a bunch of tech questions. Here we are, and that's how I started. That's how I got
Nice.
into tech. Was just this, and I think that's what I love about it, because I didn't have anybody to teach me. I didn't have any direction to go, but it takes you and it says that's okay. You can still be successful, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
When you mentioned front page, that just unlocked a whole like memory for me because
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember using GeoCities as well? So
Yes!
I used
With
to
like trailing mouses and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to build my GeoCities site on front page, and
Yes!
I think it was GeoCities that didn't let you use front page. It like if you put a front page HTML file in, it'd be like, oh no, it's front page. Go away. But if you actually, what I did was I inspected the file because it was a very basic website. I was crap back then at
Yes.
doing anything with the web. And all I saw was that in the header it just says design with Microsoft front page. I thought if I just delete that,
Yeah.
will it work? And it does. Well, it did.
Brilliant. Amazing.
It is. It's fantastic. And then, of course, because that's actually exactly what I did, Mike. It was front page for GeoCities. And then, I got really cool and set up my MySpace page. And it was like, I can use these same concepts and have like the coolest MySpace page that nobody goes to. Right. And it was fantastic.
I think MySpace back in the early to mid 2000s taught a generation how to do CSS and HTML.
Yes.
The stuff you could do with your profile was incredible. Everyone put a horrible MIDI file on there and it would autoplay when you load it. It'd blast out your speakers at 3 a.m. But yeah, I credit the early MySpace with teaching a lot of people to do HTML because you just had to. To make your profile stand out, you had to do HTML. So, Heather, can you share your journey on changing careers and moving countries in your 40s? And what motivated you to make such a significant step, apart from the obvious, very good summers that we have?
Again, it is the weather for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's always a guy, right? It's always like a romantic entanglement, but it's a very nerdy love story. You want to hear it? I'll
I
share
thought
it.
we'd met before.
Of course
I
we
had a
did.
feeling we've met before.
It is. I was playing this MMORPG called Kingdoms of Camelot, right? And
There we go.
all of MMOs, you're running around the whole world and you're trying to gather all these resources. And some jerk face sitting across the pond in England would wait until I was asleep and then come and steal my stuff, right? And so I was like, I don't like this guy. So then we built a browser customization so that we could cheat the game and just constantly show that I was online, because this game had it set up like if Heather's online, you can't take her stuff, right? Do you know this dude waited until we had a grid emergency in Vegas? We had no power and stole my stuff. Like, knowing that I couldn't get online.
Wow.
It was like, what? So then I find him on Facebook and I just start telling him off, right? And anyway, then every proper romance, I ignored him for 6 months, even though he kept trying to be like, hey, let's chat. And I was like, no, not talking to you. And then finally one day he messaged me again and I was like, I might as well talk to this guy. He's really persistent. And then that's how it all started. So that was 11 years ago. And then, so here I am living in Las Vegas and I'm like, okay, I got to go meet this guy. What do people with ADHD do? I should probably get a passport and just buy a plane ticket and go to England. And then all the normal people around me are like, that's really not smart, Heather. And I'm like, I'm probably going to do it anyway. So can I have your support with this,
Yeah.
And is he still stealing your stuff when you?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still steal my stuff.
Every time you go out, you come home to an empty house. Sorry, it's in storage.
Absolutely. I threaten him that if he messes with my games, I will go in and delete stuff off of his phone in the middle of the night, and so then he'll lose all of his resources. It's fair play, right? But the problem is this guy lived in South Devon, and I didn't know what South Devon meant as an American because we only know London. Right?
He told you it was close to London, didn't he?
No, he didn't. He was like, "You're not going to like it here because you live in Las Vegas."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound
quite
great."
a change, isn't it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
live in Brixham, don't you? Near Brixham?
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm not even in Brixton. I'm in a village called Tristan Fairs, which is outside of another village called Gampton, which is outside between Brixham and Paynton. So yeah, there's a farm shop. I think that's all that's here. But
Hey,
it's okay.
That's pretty good, having the farm shop.
had the farm shop. There's one road in, one road out. So I watch sometimes people's
Single
sheep get
track.
out. Or,
Single
yeah,
track.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
I love that part of the world though. Like
Oh, it's
we go to
gorgeous.
Devon pretty much every year for our holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first moved here, somebody said, "Heather, you live where people go on holiday," and
Yeah.
now I
Yeah.
get it. I'm like, I get it. But this is all pre-COVID, right? We get married in 2019, but I don't move over right away because I'm like, I'm gonna have to give up my whole career. I don't know if you guys remember, but pre-COVID, well, probably today too, Devon is not the tech capital of the UK. And I was like, I have this rich history in telecom, Microsoft, stuff like that. I'm going to be selling coffee at the seaside. I'm not going to find a job. And I was so nervous. But then COVID happened. At the same time COVID happened, my company went through a merger, as what also happens in telecom. And pretty soon somebody volunteers me to make like a SharePoint site, and I'm like, sure. And then they ask, hey, can you build a Power App? And I said, of course I can. Never built one before, but figured we'll wing it. And so over the course of COVID, I just taught myself Power Platform. When I finally got the visa to come down here and I started talking with recruiters, I found out like this is a really good space to be in. And so that's my story of how I got here and how I was able to find a job, even though I live where people don't even use email sometimes.
Yeah. Nice. So what challenges have you faced as a woman in the technology industry, and how have you, if you have any, how have you overcome them?
Yeah, it's better now than it was. When I first started, or my first leadership role in the Microsoft space, I came in and they were I had a team of solution engineers and a team of pre-sales project managers, right? And there was some sort of like hesitancy to transfer two of these solution engineers to me in the system. And I couldn't figure out why until finally HR was like, if they're reporting to Heather, that has to be in her hierarchy in the system. I found out these guys were making like $20,000 a year more than I was. And that's why nobody wanted to transfer them over, because they knew I'd kick off, which I did, right? And pay inequity has been something that I think I faced in nearly every role I've had, where I've had to go and challenge it and say, hey, I need to make as much as the other people doing this job, and I definitely need to be compensated fairly. But then the other problem that comes is people don't see you as technical. And then like when you're outgoing and bubbly, they see that piece of you and they kind of lose it, right? That you also know things. And so I feel like in some ways I've almost been really challenged sometimes to prove to I call it the outside world, that I know what I'm doing. My first interview in the UK, actually, it was really emotional. I was so, there was a difference between sad crying tears and hot angry tears, okay? And I had hot angry tears because this guy never asked me a single technical question and then gave feedback to the recruiter of like, Heather has a great personality, but we're not sure about her technical knowledge. And I was like, what? We didn't even talk about anything. You don't even know what I've done. I was so mad. But here's how I've overcome it. It's guys in the community. It's reaching out and talking to people who are really good allies. I've never had an issue with my colleagues recognizing what I bring to the table and how to leverage that. When I came to the UK, I realized like people are so friendly. I can reach out to people and talk to them, and I've never felt on a peer level any kind of like, oh no, you're a girl, we don't think you know what you're doing. I've never felt that here. But I've always been aware of it in my career, and I've spent a lot of my career as the only woman in the organization or in the position that I'm in. So, but we get there, and I think what helps me get through it most of all is I'm like, if I raise the fuss, if I kick off about something that's not right, I'm making it easier for the next person that comes behind me, so that the next woman that comes in doesn't have to face that same adversity, right?
Sorry, I didn't want that to come out of the recording. So Heather, how has being diagnosed with ADHD later in life influenced your professional and personal development?
Yeah, that's really weird, isn't it? Like I sat there and I like I said, I've always been weird. I've never understood why I'm weird. I've tried to do everything I can to fit in with people. I'm like, okay, they think you're weird when you do this, so don't do that anymore. And then it just ends up coming across more awkward and weird, right?
Yeah.
But then like I hit this point where I'm like, a lot of my friends have ADHD. And then they would tell me things that led them to their diagnosis. And I'm like, I do that too. That's like a thing that I do, right? And I actually read something about rejection sensitivity
Oh,
dysphoria.
yeah.
What are we calling it now? RSD is
Yeah.
easier for me because I don't have to say the hard words.
Yeah.
I read about it and I was like, oh my heck, that's like Heather in a
That's a
nutshell.
massive. That's a massive thing for me.
No,
Yeah.
it's so crazy when you see like a term applied to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
And then you read the words, and you're like, Jesus. It's like someone's like reading your mind and putting the words on the page.
Yeah.
like right in front
what?
of you, right? And I remember talking to a mentor and she was like, Heather, what do you want me to help you with? I'm like, I want to be able to talk to my boss without getting upset. And she was like, oh, what upsets you? I'm like, because I'm scared that he's mad at me. And like, I mean, it was just like, I had nothing real, right? So I went through and I decided to go through the diagnostic process. And it was not a long process, you guys. I am like, apparently everybody else knew I was ADHD before I did because I
Yeah.
told people and they were like, yeah, I thought you knew. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, no, I didn't.
That's a funny conversation as well. Like, because I remember when I started going down that process to get diagnosed, I talked to my sister, and she's like, "Well, yeah, I would say so." And I was like, "What? Like,
Yeah.
why haven't you told me this before?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I thought you kind of knew." And then I spoke to my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, I'd say so." Like, hold on a second. We've been married for like nearly 10 years. Like, why have you not said anything? Like,
And then you asked me, and I was like, yeah.
and then
Yeah, I
I
can
asked my
see
friend
it.
Amy, she's like, "Whoa, yeah!" As I sit here playing with a fidget spinner.
Absolutely.
It's a interesting one. Yeah,
Yeah. And nobody said, oh, Heather, no, I don't think you have ADHD. Like,
Yeah.
no, not one person said that to me.
yeah. I think I'm on the fence for this one.
So,
There's
Heather,
no one ever.
Are you primarily hyperactive or inattentive?
So they said I was combined.
Yeah,
And I was like, which actually makes complete sense because there are times, and it's a superpower in some ways, right? But if I'm doing like a talk, I do not get nervous talking in front of a big crowd of people. The larger the crowd, the better. I love it, right? But I've had other people who are like, I'm tired after hearing you because you are so energetic and you're just bringing so much, right? And I think that's that hyperactivity part. But then when I get into like the ADHD burnout, then it's like
Yeah.
I can't even remember. I'll go downstairs and make a cup of coffee and I forgot how I got there.
Yeah.
Everything is distracted. Nothing is focused and there's no energy behind
What's
it.
amazing with Mike and I is, yeah, I'm both as well. Inattentive and
Inattentive.
hyperactive, but I'm more on the hyperactive side and Mike's more on the inattentive side, so we kind of like complement each other the whole time, which
Yeah.
is really good. Yeah,
No, that's really good. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird when I first, like, it all came together because I had like a grieving process. And I don't know if you guys went through this, but I was like, if 10-year-old Heather knew that this was how her brain worked and this is how things happened,
Yeah.
how different would my life be
Yeah.
now? You know?
But you are where you are now. So
I am.
that's the flip side to it. Like, if I knew back then at that age, I probably wouldn't have ended up going to grammar school.
Oh, right.
Like, I was like on the borderline of like the top 3-4% performers academically, but there was a huge gap between people who just got in and people who were in. Now, I've got friends that are, absolute wizards, and
Yeah.
I'm nowhere. I can't touch them. It's just not possible. So, yeah. But then you think about like where I am now. Would I have got to the same place that I am in now? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so.
No, because it gives you like, yeah, you're right. It is who you are. Our journeys make us who we are, right? I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in that. But there was a period of grief. There was a period of like, what I've made different choices. What I've, done things differently had I known.
How are you on the empathy side?
I'm super empathetic. I'm over empathetic. Actually,
Yeah,
have I have, which is great when you're doing consultancy,
yeah.
because when I tell people, like, I put myself self in my client's shoes, I literally do. I can feel it. I know what they're going through. It's also horrible though, because I can't, like, I can watch the news and end up in tears because I'm
Yeah.
really feeling terrible for what's going on. And
I've been upset at one of those famine adverts,
yeah,
like during like comic relief, and I'm like, whoa, where's that come from?
yeah,
But that also, I think, that also can, when you have those kind of reactions to those kind of situations, it can force you to make a change for the better because you're
absolutely.
really, really raw reacting to it. Yeah. So on to kind of like qualities and strengths then from your ADHD diagnosis. How do you? Because I feel like I've got strengths and weaknesses from both, and I think Mike would probably agree with that. What do you think on your side?
Yeah. I mean, I think ADHD is the reason why a lady sitting in America in her 30s decides, I'm going to get a passport and fly to this country that I've never been to and meet some guy who steals my stuff on the internet, right? I think ADHD gave me a lot of what it takes to do that. Is that positive or negative? I don't know, because I have a really hard time. I still don't think it was clever. It worked out for me, but I don't know that I want to advise young women out there, like, hey, just fly over to other countries and meet people you don't know. Um,
Yeah,
I think what I really embrace with ADHD and what I love about it, and is, I'm not scared that I won't be able to solve a problem. I feel like I'll always find a solution. Every problem has a solution. And before I accepted my ADHD diagnosis, I had a really difficult time listening to people because I was so concerned about how I was coming across. And I was so concerned about, like, am I doing the right things? Am I doing something weird right now? Are they, like, looking at me funny or whatever? And now it's like, I don't. I can just listen to somebody. I can listen to my clients. I'm not trying to solve their problem while they're talking because I know I'll solve it. I'm really confident with that. And, like, your superpower is solving people's problems. All you need to do is listen and make sure you understand and empathize with that problem and what that problem is. Super good under pressure, super good under pressure. So if tell me, like, Heather, I need this done by this afternoon, especially if it's like impossible, give it to me because I love that kind of stuff. Please, please, please do not ever come to me and say, hey, could you have this to me in 6 weeks? Because I'm going to need a reminder like 2 days before to get the quality that you need from me, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so it's so typical ADHD. It's not unique to Heather. It's just part of how our brains work, you
Do
know?
you have, Mike? Do you have a problem with like immediacy? Because that's a massive problem for me. I don't know if you guys
How
have.
do you mean by a problem with immediacy? Do you mean like,
So, like, if someone gives me a task to do
yeah?
and I haven't got a piece of paper to write it down, I will literally do it the minute they stop
Oh
speaking.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's me 100%. Like,
Get it done.
yeah.
Yeah.
There is that thing you can do, isn't there? There's like the 10-minute rule where if the task at hand is going to take you 10 minutes, just do it immediately.
Okay.
As
Okay.
with lots of things, you think it's going to take 10 minutes. Actually, like 3 hours later, you're still there.
Because that happens.
Yeah.
That happens with me a lot at work, and that's why I've noticed recently when I was asked to do a proof of concept. Proof of concept for work for me is actually probably where my strongest area is because it's not pressured, but it's time boxed, right? You've got you've got 8-10 hours, whatever. I want you to do as much as you can of this POC so we can show it to the customer on this day. And I fly with that. Like I've done a couple now, and I've been telling the people that are kind of giving out those PSAs to like give me more because I really really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But then if I think if I was in a larger project, I might find that difficult, and I would start running away with things unless the project manager was pretty tight on my time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something else that being diagnosed with ADHD gave me permission to express to others on that, I need your help with my accountability because I'll tell you, what doesn't work? A to-do list, a task, a reminder popping up because they blend into the backgrounds, right? And
Yeah.
they don't exist anymore. I have Post-its all around me, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, I don't even know why I wrote that 3 weeks ago. Like, I've tried these techniques. What's the most helpful to me is if I say to somebody, that's fantastic. Say to a non-ADHD person, could you send me a message the morning of and just make sure that I've got it together, you know, and put other tools in to help me do it. Um, and, you know, and I repeat to myself all the time, you're not lazy, Heather. You're not lazy.
No.
You're not flaky. Every time I commit to something, I want to do it, and I mean that commitment. I just sometimes need help to make sure it didn't go off into ADHD lands, right? You know?
I have these tumbleweed moments. I don't know if you ever have that. Well, I used to have it a lot when I was a kid, and I never really realised. And when I was talking to the psychologist about ADHD, she said, you know, did you have any nicknames or anything when you were at school or whatever? And I said, yeah, one of them was Rusty FM. So my surname's Russell, and my mates used to say, you're going to have to tune into Rusty FM to understand what the hell he's talking about, because I'd just come out with these things and they're like, what are you talking about?
Where did that come from?
Yeah. And it happens on client calls as well. It happened earlier. I said something and I could tell, like, if there'd been a tumbleweed kind of like graphic, it would have come up.
That's amazing. Yeah. So mine, I no kidding, when I was in sixth grade, I don't know what that is in this country, like 11, 12, right?
Yeah.
We did the superlatives, like the most likely to's and all of that. And mine was Miss Perfectionist of the Year. And I talked to John about this because I will keep myself from doing things because it's not perfect or somebody did it better, right? You know, and it makes me laugh now because at the time I didn't get it. It was like, what does Miss Perfectionist mean? What do they mean? Like, I just like to do a good job. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, these aren't new problems, Heather.
You know what helps me with that? What helps me with that is, and this is something that Power Platform actually addresses, is the whole concept of minimum viable product.
Yeah.
So you box that early on, like this is what it's going to be, and we're not going to go crazy after that. This is what we're going to do, and get everyone on that page as to what low code can achieve and the speed that it can achieve it. And that's actually really good for me because that's boxed that now, and I can think, right, okay, I can visualize that. I know what it's going to look like. Anything else is superfluous to it unless we've got time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really struggle with. I can really struggle with time management and reminders and stuff. That again, that doesn't work for me. That just blends into the background. I'm always forgetting things that I've been told like 3 days before that I need to do. But I've been working very closely with my project manager to make sure that my time is planned, and she keeps me accountable for that. So that works really well for me. And I've literally forgotten the point that I was trying to make with this.
It'll come back. It'll pop back up, and then you'll be like, I got it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, well.
That was brilliant though, Mike. I mean, that was textbook. Well done.
Yeah.
And that's our ADHD demonstration for the podcast.
Well, there's our last demo.
So Heather, what advice would you give to others considering a major career change or dealing with late diagnosed ADHD?
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about both of these because first let's talk about the career change. Here's what's amazing about changing careers, and if you do it at the same time you move countries, you get an even more amazing opportunity with it. You get to rebrand, right? And you get to say, this is who Heather is going to be now, and this is who I want to be. And what was really great for me is doing that post ADHD diagnosis. I made this decision of, I'm going to be authentic, because when people like me, it's when I'm me. And when they get so much out of it, I mean, I still have like the little imposter squad in my brain who's like, they're just being nice to you. They don't really find value, whatever. They pop up and they still talk to me. But being able to come here and say, this is who I am, this is how I'm going to sell myself, to sit in these interviews, and even if they say like, I have a nice personality, but don't ask me technical questions, that's fine, because we were never going to be compatible. It wasn't going to work, because when you have Heather, you have all of this energy and excitement, and people are like, I want to get Heather in front of my clients. She gets everybody so excited about the platform and excited about our services. And then they get surprised when I get pissed off about something and I'm just as emotional and energetic about it. And they're
Yeah,
like, what?
yeah,
Where did that come
yeah.
from? And I'm like, oh, you guys, no, that's
So
energy.
I call them peaks and troughs. So I quite often, like this morning, I knew that we were going to be speaking to you, which I was really looking forward to, and also I was doing this session with a client this morning, and it's my favourite part of requirements gathering, really. And so I woke up at 6, and I was like awake. Like, I am ready to go, right? And so at about I don't know 6:01. No, it was about 8:30. I texted my colleague that I was working on that call with, and I said, I'm just giving you a heads up, but I'm really, really on it, and I might be saying all kinds of crap. And he's like, oh God. So yeah, people. As long as you tell people, I think that's the bit that I'm coming to terms with. As long as you tell people that's how you are feeling that day, and I'm definitely not as good as. I'm good at telling people when I'm feeling like that, but when I'm feeling the other way, I'm not very good at telling people. And it can come across like, well, why is he quiet? What's going on? Like, if you don't really understand the reasons, it's because I haven't told you, and that's actually down to me. I should be more vocal on both sides.
It's interesting because I think that's the other advice I'd give. You know, when changing careers, rebrand yourself, be who you want, present that person in your interviews. So that's the first thing I would say there. But with ADHD and getting that late diagnosis, it's that opportunity to really say, okay, now I know that my brain doesn't operate in the same way that some other people's brains operate. And I know that I do things a little bit different. And I know now that traditional techniques of time management, stuff like that, doesn't work for me. And so then my advice is to embrace that and start letting people what you need, know what you need to be successful. And I have made it extremely clear. My hours, my contract hours start at 9 o'clock. And I've made it clear to anybody that if you put me on a meeting at 9 a.m., you are not getting the best Heather that you can get. Right? Because you're getting the Heather who was like, oh, I got plenty of time. Oh shit, it's 9, right? And that's the Heather you're getting at 9 o'clock. Whereas, if you started just a little bit later, you give me enough time to make sure I have my coffee and I got the dog out, whatever I needed to do. And then really just, I had this conversation with my leaders because I'm very ambitious and I want to do all the things and I have so many ideas. So just assign it all to me, right? But I'm not very good at recognizing when I have too much.
Yeah.
And I need an advocate in the workplace who will say, that's too much. That's something you can't have.
Yeah. And I'm
that
lucky.
is
I
actually
think
exactly the point I was trying to make, but forgot about having my project manager
Yeah.
be my advocate.
And Mike
Yes.
is like that. Mike is like that for me as well. Like, I run things by Mike all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you know
Like
what
a
I call
filter.
this? This is, I'll let you use this term as you feel fit, but I have identified an individual at work. He's one of my first friends in the UK. He is my emotional support colleague. And when I need that little push to get something done or get over the hill or a little boost of confidence, I can pull on my emotional support colleague and say, this is what I need from you so that I'm able to accomplish what I'm trying to do today. And it's helpful. It's helpful if we work in pairs. We run in packs. They say, as neurodivergent people, we all attract each other and we all run in groups, right? And then, one person gets diagnosis and it's just like this windfall effect. Soon as we're like, hey, I have that too, but we can also look out for each other and help each other through that.
Okay, so we have this section, as you may well be aware, Heather, called Uncomfortable Corner.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable corner.
I'll tell you what, the media board feature of Riverside is completely wasted on this podcast.
Yeah, we need to do something else. So, yeah.
We can.
Hold on, what we got now? Chickens! I love chickens. if I get chickens in the garden, I'm probably going to feel like I'm winning at life. So one of them would be called Gregory Peck, by the way. Anyway, when was the last time, Heather, you felt uncomfortable, maybe inside or outside of work? And could you explain how you got through it and what you learnt about it, and how you would maybe, if you come across that uncomfortableness again, how you would get through it a second time?
So it's interesting because this is the one question I've known from when I first started listening to the podcast that I'd be asked, right? And it's the only question that I didn't write anything up for because I thought, Heather, you're going to do this and it's going to be from the heart. So what happens with this is I can get emotional. So if I do and I make you uncomfortable, I apologize in advance. But because it was yesterday. And so yesterday, I launched a blog. And this blog has been sitting in my brain for probably a year and a half, right? And it's all about accessibility, and it's inspired by these people. These people I've been so fortunate to meet. I worked with a man in Las Vegas. We worked together. I mentored him. I helped him in his career. We became really good friends, and sadly, he had a medical emergency that caused him to lose his vision. And here's this guy who, what did we talk about? Playing video games, Marvel comic books, stuff like that. Everything that was so visual, and his life was just altered. And he, at the time, I was playing a card game. You guys might know it, Magic the Gathering, and I was playing competitively. And he says, "Listen, is there any adaptations so that blind people can play that game?" And I remember thinking, like, that would be really hard to play it in paper if you couldn't see. Like, you'd almost have to have somebody there with you to help you. So anyway, I digress because I have ADHD. That has it really got me thinking to myself, I want to put stuff out there in the community to talk about how we can make things more accessible, how we can make them more accessible for people like me with ADHD. Because I promise you, if you give me a long questionnaire with a bunch of essay type answers, I'm not going to give you my honest opinion, right? How do we help people with dyslexia, with vision problems, physical disabilities? But it's intimidating because there's so many good people in this community, and Miss Perfectionist of the Year is like, why would anybody want to read what you wrote or what you're going to do? And something happened to alter the plan, because I was going to put out this blog, I had the entry wrote, and then I was going to do a video, right, to accompany it. I lost my voice last week, you guys. My husband was relieved. Heather was panicked, because you can't make a video if you don't have a voice, So I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. Maybe this whole thing was dumb, maybe this was a very bad idea. And I was really fighting myself. But I remembered something. And John, if I embarrass you, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it anyway. John did this video a while ago where he was showing an automation he made. And I was excited. I was like, oh, let me watch his video, because I'd seen a few of his videos and they're usually pretty entertaining, right? John had his shark shirt on, right? And he starts this video out with like, oh my gosh, you guys, see my shark shirt. And he stands up and he shows this thing off. And I was like, I love him. I want to listen to whatever he says, because he's not doing a video to try to get like the most likes or try to get the most money. He's doing a video because he's really excited about the solution, and he's showing us.
And the shark shirt.
And the shark shirt, because like, hello, I'm totally going to buy one, by the way. And I was like, I realized like that's what I'm about too. I'm not trying to be the most famous person. I'm not trying to be the smartest person. I just want to help people. And if somebody sees something that I did and it helps them, that makes me feel good. So I set myself a goal to launch it at 5:00. I think I missed it by 20 minutes. And finally I just pushed the button and I was like, posted on LinkedIn, right? That you did this. And you guys, it was incredible. Like, I got these private messages that were amazing where people were like, you helped me. I got like 5 messages within 2 hours of people saying like, wow, I never knew that. And that really helped me. And I have ADHD and I never thought of that. And it was just, and so what I learned from that, it's always going to be scary for me to make myself vulnerable in that way. It's like I said, if you ask me to take that same blog and read it to 150 people at a conference, totally fine. Let me present about accessibility. I'll do that. Totally fine. But to have something like documented on a blog that says, this is Heather, it just it makes you very vulnerable. Whereas like people could just say.
And
Do you
when
think
you
it's
say
because-
that you're vulnerable,
Sorry.
is that because, why is that?
That's because of that stupid RSD, right? That's just like, you're going to put this thing out there and then people are going to be like, okay, you call yourself a solution architect. You think that you know all of this stuff,
Yeah.
but
And you-
realistically, there's all these people that know so much more than you,
And are
right?
you afraid of getting something wrong?
I was terrified that something in my blog wouldn't be accessible.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be that person who's like, here's this blog on accessibility, and then somebody be like, I can't consume your content because you didn't consider me, right? Yeah, I was scared of that. And because if I don't have credibility, then I can't help people.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, and I have talked with John about this, it's what makes me the most fulfilled is if I want to teach everybody how to get into tech. I think tech changes lives.
Yeah.
I think we can take, no matter what your upbringing is or where you came from, you can be successful in our industry, right? And then but it was really, and it was so silly to be scared about, right? Like I told myself, it was like, write out why you're scared to do this. And I couldn't come up with a good reason, except for this little voice inside of my head that was like, you're fake. You're fake. They just like you because you're funny, or they like you because you're American. Nobody really actually thinks you add value, And so it was like, I really had to like shut those guys up and just do the thing.
Nice. Well done. I mean, it is really daunting. I think the difference between blogging and presenting is that presenting, in my mind, is single use.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's also why. And I was talking to Mike about this. I feel like I have like this kind of weird like out of body experience where like I don't really remember what I just said, but people seem to have enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Hold on a second. Why is this guy coming up to me saying that he really enjoyed it when I can't even remember what I said? Like, it's a strange one. Yeah.
And it's safe, right?
Yeah.
I think it's safe because you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
But you guys do it all the time, so you've overcome that, right?
I would say I definitely get. I love presenting, but I think I get more nervous when it's not when it's in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pace around so that I've basically dug a hole to Australia, and I get really hot, like really hot.
It's fucking hot now.
Yeah, no, hotter than this. Yeah, and I always know that that's there's something looming. Yeah.
So I did get used to it in a way. Like, it was still nerve wracking, but I got a lot more comfortable presenting. And I think when we were at Bletchley Park back in, that was December, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate.
Was it
Yeah.
December? That was probably the most comfortable I've been presenting. And then we started doing the Just Ask It presentations, and then that it just got even better when we got to like the user group back in February. And that went beautifully, that one, didn't it, John? But
Yeah, that was good.
yeah, I'm presenting for a while, and I was supposed to be talking at the Power Platform user group that was on Monday, and unfortunately it got to the Friday before, and I just had to back out. It's been a while. Obviously things have sort of changed at the moment, so I wasn't enjoying putting the presentation together. I just knew that I wouldn't be giving it my best, so I didn't want to step away, but I had to, and it was actually John that said, just step away if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, you don't owe anyone anything. You owe it to yourself and your family to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the biggest changes that I've seen of you since what happened with you and measles and stuff, is that you do now say what you intend to do and what you want to do. I think before that, you probably wouldn't have done that. You probably would have just cracked on,
Yeah.
and you would have done it at the detriment of, whether that was a minimal or a large detriment to you.
Yeah.
You would have still cracked on and done it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a massive win for you. Yeah.
But going to the user group on Monday did make me want to present again. So
Oh, nice.
Oh,
well, that's
good.
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll be
After you watch my session.
Yeah. So yeah, next Tuesday I'm at South Coast user group, so I'm fully intending to
Nice.
get to that, and I think I've got in my head now what I'm going to talk about. So,
Right. Well, that's the time sensitive parts of this podcast recording. So we're gonna have to put it out like Thursday, right?
put out today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
So Tuesday, about 2 weeks ago, I spoke at the South Coast user group. It went really well. It was about 2 weeks ago I spoke at the South Coast user group. It went awfully. It was about 2 weeks at the South Coast user group. Unfortunately, I had to decline speaking.
Brilliant.
There you go, all covered.
Nice. Make sure we'll mark that clip as well. Look, I've done it for you.
Oh, thank you.
So, Heather, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. That's all we have time for today. You can find Heather on LinkedIn and Twitter and on her blog. What is that cat doing? Your links will be in the show notes. Music today was provided by our friend Ken Like Fit. You can find his music on Spotify. Again, the link to that you can find. Jesus, are you all right? Christ's sake, cat! Look, it's absolutely you're destroying the place. Right. So if you want to subscribe to this podcast, or I don't know, take my cat, that would be nice.
I'll take your cat.
Honestly, it's really me off. We would also really appreciate it if you could give us a follow on LinkedIn, and if you know any cat homes, let me know. If you're enjoying the podcast, please give us a review on your chosen podcast platform. Thank you very much. No cats have been harmed in the recording of this Sprint Zero podcast. And we've been Mike Gowland. Say goodbye, Mike.
Goodbye, Mike.
And Heather Perriam. Say goodbye, Heather.
Goodbye, Heather.
And I'm John, and I will see you on the next episode of Sprint Zero. Thank you very much. Love you, Mike. Love you, Heather.
Love you both.
That's right.
By the way, I'm Sean Osh. I run the Architects Accelerator. It is an 8-week training that gets people prepared to be a solutions architect. My goal for making it was simple. I want developers able to build these powerful, flexible solutions with minimal effort. We're accepting participants right now, so go ahead to untethered365.com. The link is in the show notes if you want to sign up.